In the last video, I showed you how to make the head and neck and attach the mouth and legs as we made it. In this video, we'll make the eyes and attach the neck to the body, and our squashed frog will be finished. First, we'll make the eyes. I have several options here for you to choose from, and you can use 2 of each or a combination of whichever you like. The eye options are large, small, grotesque, or a dizzy emoji style eye, or eyes with large or small crochet centres. The first 3 examples use a safety eye system, which is a choking hazard for children under 3. So if you're making this in a household that has a child under 3, please use one of the other options. Of course, you don't have to use these options for eyes on your frog. If you have something you'd rather use, that's perfectly fine. You can change how the eyes look by swapping out the safety eye insert. You can change colours or sizes for a different effect. So do whatever you like, it's up to you. I'll show you how to make the eyes in this order, and there should be a timestamp here showing you where you can jump forward to go to that eye. I'm using 4 Seasons Flinders yarn in 8 ply, it's 100% cotton, and these are 50-gram balls. All of the eyes need the snow colour one. Some of the eyes need the jet colour one, and the grotesque eye also uses Grape and Ruby. And I'm using a 4mm crochet hook. For the large eye, I'll also be using a safety eye in the centre. We'll make the large eye first, and we don't need to use an anchor loop for the magic rings in the eyes. We're going to start with a magic ring, so wrap the yarn around your fingers, put your hook through the centre and pull through a loop, and get ready to crochet with the other hand. Do a small chain to anchor it, and then we're going to do 10 single crochet stitches. So put your hook through the centre, yarn under and pull through a loop, yarn over and pull through both loops, and we'll make 10 of those. So here's 2. I'll speed through this so I don't waste your time, and I'll meet you when we've finished the 10 single crochet stitches. When you've done your 10 single crochet stitches, pull the centre of that loop closed a little, but you need to leave a space in the centre to put the safety eye through later. So don't pull that closed too tightly. Insert a round marker and then go through that first stitch we made behind both the front and back parts of that loop, and we'll do an increase in that first space. So there's an increase and then a single crochet. So the pattern for round 2 is an increase and a single crochet repeated 5 times. You'll have 15 stitches at the end of the round. Remember, don't secure your yarn tail into your stitches. You'll need that later to pull it closed around the safety eye. Move your round marker up for round 3, and in round 3 we're going to do 2 single crochets and an increase. So the first 2 spaces just have a single crochet each, and the third space is going to be an increase, and we'll repeat that pattern 5 times. You'll have 20 stitches at the end of the round. At the end of round 2, pull your loop large, and we're going to insert the safety eye. So put the safety eye through the centre. Make sure you're using the top side of your work. Remember to pull the magic ring closed in the same direction the yarn is coming around. So it's coming this way, so I need to pull it closed in this direction. When you've pulled the centre closed, make sure the stitches are evenly around your safety eye there. Otherwise it can look a little warped on the other side. And then put the safety clasp on the back. Move your round marker up for round 4, and round 4, 5 and 6 are just a single crochet in each space all the way around. So just do a single crochet in each space all the way around. You'll have 20 stitches per round. If you'd like a flatter eye, you can stop at the end of round 4 and have an eye like this. If you stop at the end of round 5, your eye would look like this. At the end of round 6, the eye looks like this. So if you make a frog with the full large eyes, they'll look like this. To finish the large eye, take out the round marker and do a slip stitch in the next space. Then cut off a yarn tail long enough to sew the eye to the head. Pull the yarn on the hook through the loop, and then we'll do an invisible end. This is the space the slip stitch was coming from, so step forward 2 stitches like this, go under both the front and back parts of that loop, go back into the space this yarn is coming from, and into the back of the loop below, and pull the yarn through and make it the same size as the other stitches in the top. Now that's ready to sew onto the head. Next I'll show you how to make the smaller eye. To make the smaller eye, wrap the yarn around your fingers. I'm not using an anchor loop. Put your hook through the center, pull through a loop and get ready to crochet with the other hand. Do a small chain to anchor your magic ring. And we're going to do 8 single crochets in this eye. So put your hook through the center, yarn under and pull through a loop, yarn over and pull through both loops. So we're going to do 8 single crochet stitches. So there's the first one, and I'll speed through the other ones so I don't waste your time. So here's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. Now pull the center closed but not completely. You need to leave a space for the safety eye to go through the center. Use a round marker, and the pattern for round 2 is an increase and a single crochet repeated 4 times. You'll have 12 stitches at the end of the round. Remember, don't trap the magic ring yarn tail. You need that to pull that center closed after we insert the safety eye. The pattern for round 3 is 2 single crochets and an increase repeated 4 times. You'll have 16 stitches in this round. Move your round marker up for round 4, and in rounds 4 and 5 we're just going to do a single crochet in each space. You could stop after round 4 if you want a flatter eye, or you could do an extra round if you want to have a taller eye, but I'm going to stop at 5 rounds. At the end of round 5, pull out the round marker and do a slip stitch in the next space. Then snip off a yarn tail long enough to sew the eye to the head. Pull the loop on the hook large until that pulls through, and we'll do an invisible end. This is the place we did our slip stitch. Step forward 2 spaces, go behind both the front and back parts of that stitch, and pull the yarn through. Then go through the space this yarn is coming from, into that loop, and into the back of the loop below. And pull that to be the same size as the other stitches, like that. Now we need to put in the safety eye. Insert your safety eye. Make sure you note which direction the yarn's coming around in your magic ring and pull in the same direction. Don't pull against it or you could break your yarn, and it's not as easy to close that way. So pull that closed, nice and tight around the safety eye, and then put on your safety clasp. I usually burn the ends just to make sure they really can't come off. But even then, please don't use it with a small child under 3. It is a choking hazard. Next we'll make the grotesque eye. It really is awful, isn't it? We'll start with a magic ring of 8 single crochet stitches, the same as we've done before. So wrap the yarn around your fingers, put your hook through the center and pull through a loop. Get the other hand ready to crochet and do a single chain to anchor the magic ring loop. So now we'll start making our stitches. Put the hook through the center, yarn under and pull through a loop, yarn over and pull through both loops. The same as we've done before. Now I'll speed ahead and do all the others because I've already shown you how to do this several times now. I don't want to waste your time. We just need 8 single crochet stitches. So I'll speed through those and meet you at the end. So there's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. Pull the magic ring closed but leave a gap in the center because you need to put your safety eye pin through the center there. Use a round marker for round 2, and remember, don't trap your yarn tail from the magic ring. We need to use that to pull the center closed after we've inserted the safety eye. The pattern for round 2 is an increase and a single crochet repeated 4 times. So go behind both the front and back parts of that first stitch we made in the magic ring and do 2 single crochet stitches. So there's our increase, and then a single crochet. So just repeat that 4 times and you'll have 12 stitches at the end of the round. Next, take out your round marker and we'll do a slip stitch in the next space. So just do a slip stitch there, then snip off a short yarn tail, Pull the loop on the hook large until that pulls through, and we'll do an invisible end. So this is the space that the slip stitch was in. We'll go forward 2 spaces, go behind both the front and back parts of that stitch, then come back and put the needle through the stitch that the yarn is coming from and the back of the stitch below, and pull that to be the same size as the other stitches. Put the safety eye in the center of your magic ring, and remember to check which way the yarn is coming around. Mine's coming around this way, so I pull in the same direction. So pull the magic ring center closed around your safety eye, adjust the stitches to make sure they're nice and even, and then put on the safety clasp at the back. Next, just tie those 2 pieces of yarn together. I've made mine long enough so that I can use it in the braid at the bottom. Next, change to white yarn, and I'm going to do a slip knot here. You can start any way you like in this circle, but I'm going to start a little before that invisible end so I remember to crochet in behind there properly. So I'm going to start 2 stitches before my invisible end, and round 3 is an increase and 2 single crochets. So I'm going to do an increase in this first space, and then a single crochet in each of the next 2 spaces. Here's where my invisible end was, and you can see that there are 2 bars going across that way. I'm going to go underneath both of them. And I'll pull that stitch tight so it's equal to the other ones. So the pattern for this round is an increase and 2 single crochets repeated 4 times. You'll have 16 stitches at the end of the round. At the end of round 3, when you've got up to that next stitch in the white, insert a round marker, and for the next 3 rounds, rounds 4, 5 and 6, it's just a single crochet in each space. You'll have 16 stitches per round. Move your round marker up for round 7, and the pattern for round 7 is a decrease. So go into the front loops of the next 2 spaces and do a decrease, and then 2 single crochets, so 1 single crochet in each space. So there's the pattern for round 7, a decrease and 2 single crochets, and we'll repeat that 4 times. You'll have 12 stitches at the end of the round. And at the end of this round, we're going to add a little stuffing into the center of the eye, before the opening gets too small to be able to reach inside. At the end of round 7, your little eye should be looking like this. So pull your loop large, and we're going to add some stuffing. I'm going to add some stuffing around that purple yarn so that it's not visible through the stitches if it gets pressed up against the edge. So put a little stuffing on this side, and then move the yarn towards the center to put the rest of the stuffing inside there. The pattern for round 8 is a single crochet and then a decrease repeated 4 times. So there's my single crochet, and then take the front of the next 2 stitches to make a decrease, and we'll repeat that 4 times. So a single crochet and a decrease repeated 4 times. You'll have 8 stitches at the end of the round. So move your round marker up for round 9, and in this round we're going to do 4 decreases, and you'll have 4 stitches at the end of the round. And for that last one, I do a slip stitch. Cut off a yarn tail long enough so that you can use it in the braiding at the bottom of the eye. Then pull your loop large and pull the yarn through. Then pull out your round marker, and I'm going to add a strand that's double the length of the yarn tail that I have there, so about that long. My yarn tail is coming from here, and I'm going to go across a stitch and straight across the center like this. That will give me 2 more yarn tails there. And I'm going to thread these purple yarn tails here through some of the other stitches. So this doesn't have anything coming through, so I'll thread the purple one through there, and here's the other purple one. All of my stitches have a piece of yarn coming through them, so I'll just at random I'll put them through another space, so maybe here. Next, get a piece of yarn. I've got a piece about this long, so I'm just going to strip that down into half the size. Get all the twists out so that it's a nice strand. And using a smaller needle, I'm going to make some veins. So I want to have the tails at the bottom here so I can braid them into the eye. So starting at the bottom, you can insert your needle in here anywhere you like, and all I've done is to go up one space, leave a yarn tail long enough at the bottom to braid, and then I've just done stitches in here quite at random. I didn't really have any specific plan. It's just to make the eyes look creepy, actually. So you can go any different way you like. I'll just randomly put one across here like this, and I'll put one up here like this. So all you need to do is have little joins here in various places like this. So this one I've got something coming from the bottom and branching off here, and then branching again up there. Here I have just a short one branching. Here there's one with a long shape like this and a little branch there. And here's one that branches here and then again at both of the tops. So just randomly make a shape that makes it look creepy with veins. You can go right up to the top, into that top line of stitches there. Don't go right up into the purple. Just go like this, and then go across and start again a little bit away from there, and just randomly sew something to make it look creepy. It really does look quite awful. Some kids think this is really cool and others hate it. My kids said, no, please don't put them on our frog. So it's totally up to you what you want to do. Check and make sure that you're satisfied with how many little ugly veins you've got there. So there's my little eyeball. I think that's creepy enough. In my sample eye, I put 2 purples together, 2 whites together, and had 1 strand of red per white team. And you don't need to braid a very long braid unless you really want it hanging out all over the floor. It's totally up to you, but I'm just going to make a short braid here, and then I'll show you how you can put it into the head. So just braid those tails together like this, and then you can sew them into one of the spaces in the head and tie them off together. And I'm just going to tie a knot there. So you need to get your knot quite tight there so that it will fit through into the head. So there's my 2 little eyes, looking creepy and disgusting. I threaded all of the yarn tails onto a needle, and I sewed through the head and out the back like this. Then follow the same line around the head. So here's the line that we're using here. Follow it around the head until you get to the same rough space on the other side like this, and then double check. Same line. I need to be just a little bit further forward, so about here, and I would come and sew out the same space that I've used here. Then I'd tie these yarn tails together in the back here quite tight, and then sew back through the head part and snip off the yarn tails quite tight so they pop back inside the head. If you'd like to have a grotesque eye on one side and a normal eye on the other side, like this, what I would do is sew through the head and have your yarn tails coming out underneath where you're going to put this eye. Tie them off around the stitches so this can't pull out, and then snip off the yarn tails or sew them back through the head and snip them off, and then sew this eye on top of where the yarn tail ties are. Next we'll make the emoji style dizzy eye. We're not going to be using a safety eye in the center of this magic ring, so we don't need to have a lot of stitches. So make a loop around your fingers, put your hook through the center and pull through a loop. Get your other hand ready to crochet and do a single chain to anchor it. Now we're going to do 6 single crochet stitches. So put your hook through the center, yarn under and pull through a loop, yarn over and pull through 2 loops. And we're going to repeat that 6 times altogether. So there was 1, here's 2, and I'll speed through this part so I don't waste your time. 3, 4, 5, and 6. We're going to close the magic ring but not completely, because it's easier to do round 2 if that's not closed completely. Use a round marker, and in the next round, round 2, we're going to do an increase in every space. Make sure you go behind both the front and back parts of each space. So there's 1, 2 in the same space, and we're going to do that all the way around. You'll have 12 stitches at the end of the round. The pattern for round 3 is an increase and 3 single crochets repeated 3 times. You'll have 15 stitches at the end of the round. For rounds 4, 5 and 6, we're just going to do a single crochet in each space all the way around. There are 15 stitches per round. I'll meet you at the end of round 6. At the end of round 6, your little eye should be looking like this. Snip off a yarn tail long enough to sew the eye to the head, and in the next space we're going to do a slip stitch. You don't need your round marker now, so you can pull the round marker out and do a slip stitch in the next space. Pull the yarn through the loop, and then we'll do an invisible end. Your slip stitch is here, so go forward 2 spaces, go behind both the front and back loops there, pull the yarn through, then go back into the space the yarn is coming from and into the back of the space below, and pull that to be the same size as the other stitches. Next we're going to make the dizzy eye part. The center of the magic ring is still open so that we can pass this yarn through very easily. So put the yarn through the center. I'm using embroidery floss here. So pass the needle through the center of that magic ring. Then I'll turn this back inside out. And I'm going to tie the magic ring yarn tail and this floss yarn tail together. But first I need to close that magic ring. The magic ring is going around this way, so I need to pull in this direction. So we'll pull that closed very securely. And now I'm going to tie these 2 yarn tails together. Tie them off as close to the top of the eye as you can. Then I'm going to tie a second knot because I'm the queen of overkill, and tie that one nice and tight as well. And then I'm going to snip that yarn tail off there. Now turn it back in the right way. You can see that our spirals are going around this way. We're going to go around here, and then up here. So this space here is going to be the one before we go up. So I'm going to go into this space here now. So all you need to do now is to go into the stitches. So I'll go forward 1 space and then come back into this space. And then go forward into the next space and back into this space. And we'll just do that all the way around for 20 stitches. So I've done 3 and I'll speed through the other ones. Just be careful that you don't accidentally sew through this yarn tail. So just go forward, keep an eye on where that yarn tail is, and we need 20 altogether. If you make emoji eyes with a different starting number or a different amount of increases, just remember that in order to make it look the same as an emoji, you need to end with this in line with this first stitch here. To finish, turn the eye inside out and sew into the stitches in the back, then tie off. And snip off a yarn tail and turn it back in the right way. This is what it should look like if you make the dizzy eye option. To make the eyes with just a spot is very easy. All you need to do is follow the pattern for the first 2 rounds to make the black dot. Personally, I would make the white part first and make sure that's the actual size of eye that you want for your frog. You might think this is too big, you might think it's perfect. You might think this is too small, you might think it's perfect. And the same, of course, for this one. They're roughly the same size though. So just choose which eye you like, make the white part first, and then do the first round or two of that magic ring and sew it straight onto the top of the eye. So that's a nice option for if you're going to be using this with small children. So you can just use a dot, or you can use an emoji style dizzy eye. So take care of your babies and don't make anything with a safety eye if you have a small child under 3. They are definitely a choking hazard. I like to sew my eyes on like this, so I go around every second stitch. So in the first time around I went into these stitches here, there's nothing here yet, and then I've sewn here and there's nothing here yet, because I like the way that this finishes. I think it looks very neat. You can do a whip stitch style if you like, so stitching around and around like that. It will look more like it's been hand sewn rather than crocheted in, but if you do it this way, it does look very neat and it looks like it's been crocheted onto the head rather than sewn, because the stitches are the same size as the other stitches and they're in exactly the same place. So it's totally a matter of preference. You can do whatever you like. Now you can sew into the spaces here, or you can sew into the pegs themselves. It's totally up to you. Some people will tell you that you're never allowed to put them in the spaces, but that's just not true. You need to be careful about the shape of the eye rather than exactly where it's going. The best idea is to do a combination of all of them. So sometimes you'll need to go into a space because that's what's available immediately below, and sometimes you'll actually sew through a stitch. So do it however makes the shape the best shape for your eye. So for me here, I can go through this peg here, and I can come up through, oh, that's another peg. And at another time it might be a space, and that's perfectly fine. So just sew all the way around like this. Every second stitch for me now is just completing sewing the eye on, and when you sew the other eye on, you'll do the same thing on the other side, unless you have some funky idea of putting your eyes in a different place. That's totally fine too. So just sew around and make sure it's secured all the way around. So this obviously isn't as neat as the other side because I've only done half of them so far, but this side looks very nice and neat because I've sewn in all of them. And to end off, I'll make sure the yarn tails are coming through the same space here like this. So they're both coming through this space here, and I'm going to tie them together and then sew through the head. So we'll just tie those together nice and tight. I'm going to tie 3 times so they won't come undone. And then I'll sew back through that same space again, and down into the head and out the other side like this. Pull until that knot pops back inside, and do the same thing with the other piece of yarn. So sew that down through the head like this. You can adjust that so that space doesn't look like there's a gap there anymore, like that. So there's my first little eye, looking very cute. Now for the yarn tails, if you pull them quite tight, like this, pull it very tight, snip it off, and it'll pop back inside the head so you can't see it. So there's my first little eye sewn on, and now I'll sew the other eye onto here. We are so close to finished now. Here are the eyes, looking very cute. Here's the head, the body, the neck, the legs. Everything's ready to go. The last thing to do is to sew the neck to the body. My big frog is so hard to see, it's so big on this table, but I'll just show you what we need to do to sew the neck onto the body. We're going to sew it across the top, just skimming the top of the end of the body part here, where that little final end is. So that will be hidden under the top part of the neck. And on the bottom part of the neck, we'll do a slightly deeper crescent shape to hold it down close to the floor. The top part is just skimming where we ended the body part on the ball, and the bottom part is down close to the floor. This is a lawn bowls ball, so it's flat on the top and bottom. I've used a toning ball for the blue ball today, and we're going to just skim across the top of where we'd finished the body part and then do a larger crescent shape down on the bottom side. Make sure you have the legs aligned correctly so that they're sticking out at the sides. You don't want to join the body on and realize that your legs are pointing a funny way. So get the legs straight like this. Starting with the yarn tail from the center of the body part where we ended, I moved up 2 rounds and started in the center between the legs. So align the legs and find the center of the ball. And now I've sewn in a slight crescent shape in this direction out towards the edge of the ball. You can see that that's going to force the top of this body to have a slight crescent shape like this. And when we sew the bottom part together, we'll make a slightly deeper crescent shape down like this. That will keep the neck closer to the floor, and then it will be able to fit under the door because this is nice and flat. So can you see what to do? It's the same as around the eyes. Sew in every second stitch and then go around twice. So you can see that I've sewn into here and not here. I've sewn here and not here. I've sewn here and not here. So I'm going to sew around like that all the way around once, and then on the way around the second time I'll sew into all of the pieces that haven't been sewn. So that's done. So I'll be sewing into here the next time around. So you need roughly this shape at the top, and at the bottom you do a slightly deeper shape. So you'll have a crescent shape coming down a little deeper at the bottom, like that. At the bottom side of the frog, the underside, I'm sewing into the stitches in round 8. So here's the center, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that's where I'm sewing into the bottom part there. So the bottom part is around, roughly around 8 or 9, 7, 8, 9, somewhere there. And the top part is being sewn into round 1, 2. So your crescent goes through round 2 from the end of where we stopped the body part and reaches down to rounds 7, 8 or 9, whichever you like to use. It will depend on how big your ball is, how big your body is, how thick your yarn is. So roughly that height, roughly that shape. For the second time around, make sure you sew down each stitch to make a nice even finish. So there's my frog's body sewn on at the top, and here it is sewn on at the bottom. Now I'm going to put these 2 yarn tails into the center and tie them off. So I'll sew down into the body part, then up through and into the back part here, and come through a gap. That way there'll be space to be able to tie it off and then sew it back inside again. And do the same to the other side. Make sure I go down in through the body as well, and then back up to this space here. So I'm quite satisfied with that shape. So tie that off nice and tight, and I'll tie it 3 times so it doesn't come undone. And because this needs to be extra secure, I'm going to sew that back down through the body part and back up out into another gap. And this time I'll just go through the neck and through that space there again. That way there's a piece coming down through the body part and a piece coming at the top, and I'll tie it off again so it really can't come undone, because this part needs to be very secure. Then I'll sew through that space again, down under the body part and back up through another space and snip that off. And do the same for the other tail. Through that space, down in to the body somewhere, and then back up through any space. Pull it tight, snip it off without snipping your stitches, and massage it in. So there it is, our squashed frog door stopper is finished. I hope you've enjoyed the whole process of making your own frog. If you have any other doors that need a stopper in your home, why not try making the squashed cow door stopper next?